Guilty Gear Strive Season 4 was released over a week ago, and in typical Gecko Scroll fashion, I was completely wrong on what was going to happen. They're aiming towards competitive stability. What gave you that idea, genius? With an emphasis on individual character changes, a lot has changed this season, and I won't be going over everything, but safe to say the community has had nothing but positive and happy reactions to the changes in the game. The Season 4 patch is a bit of a mess, and if I'm entirely honest, I needed a bit of time to figure out my full thoughts on it. This isn't helped by the fact that the community has been somewhat split over everything, with a lot of people having very harsh and very negative opinions on the patch as a whole, with insane balance decisions, so many bugs that you'd think you're looking at an anthill, and an apology from the lead director on the game. We have a lot to talk about. So, let's talk about Guilty Gear Strive Season 4. So, unlike previous seasons, this season of Guilty Gear Strive has focused less on the overall system mechanics of the game and has focused inwards on the individual characters. This means that the actual change list for Guilty Gear Strive Season 4 is long. Like, really long. Every character got touched at least a little bit. Some definitely more than others, though. How drastic were the big changes, though? How big were the biggest changes in Season 4? Well, if you looked at Ramlethal and Potemkin and said that these characters got entire reworks to their kits, I would be hard-pressed to deny that fact. It's not like they have completely new moves, sometimes, but every single bit of their kit got changed in some way. And both of them are very controversial. So let's dive into them specifically, shall we? Let's start with the easier one to talk about. Potemkin. Potemkin has been changed in such a way where the developers are trying to embody the big body power character philosophy that Potemkin wants to show. How do they do this? Well, every single one of Potemkin's moves got touched in some way. That's not even a lie, all of his normals got changed somehow. But the biggest thing that they did was they removed the Kara cancel property off of 6k. If you don't know what that means, very often, Potemkin players used to do 6k and then a special move. This would cause Potemkin to slide forward and then execute the special move. If you were gonna get good at Potemkin, it was kind of the thing you needed to do. Other characters can obviously Kara cancel in different ways, but Potemkin's 6k Kara cancel was one of the biggest things about his character. If you saw a Potemkin that was consistently Kara canceling every single one of his specials, he was probably a pretty good Potemkin. But now that's gone. It's completely been removed. To compensate for this, he got buffed in a lot of different ways. Potemkin Buster is obviously the biggest one. Now, while you hit him during the active frames, he actually has armor, meaning that he is able to trade with a lot of attacks. But other things got changed too. Slidehead now guard crushes if you block it, but it does leave him in a counter hit state, and Hammerfall is able to be stopped faster, leading to a couple of funky situations. Several of his normals also got changed. I think a lot of them got buffed, but I don't know. I don't play Potemkin. There's also a couple of weird changes in here. Garuda has now been changed to a projectile, meaning that if you have anything that beats projectile, you can, you know, beat it. But the pushback property from it has been completely removed because it's a projectile, meaning that you can't Kara cancel it anymore to keep your momentum going forward, but also you don't need to. It's one of the weirder changes, and I'm not the biggest fan of it because I liked FDing Garuda. Being stuck in this situation is not fun. And Inong has White Wild Assault. In fact, it's been changed to blue. All of these changes are nice for Potemkin players, but it's kind of weird. Not to put a division in any fan base, especially not one that's my own, but it always kind of felt like there was two different types of Potemkin players. There was the ones who played Potemkin because they liked how he played in Strive, and there was those who played Potemkin because they liked Potemkin. This change really feels like they're catering more to the second group. The ones who just kind of want to do the big moves and hit the big things, without thinking about all the people who liked the Kara cancel and liked the skill expression that they gave to him. There's nothing wrong with catering to a more casual audience, especially with things like a big body character. However, it does leave your previous fans in the dust, and a lot of Potemkin players have felt left in the dust. The general sentiment you'll get from some Potemkin players is, yeah, he's stronger now, but I'm not having as good as a time. I liked doing Kara Potbuster. It was fun. This is a personal thing, but it's led to this really annoying playstyle with Potemkin, where they will just Potbuster at every opportunity now. If you have a slight gap in your string, they're gonna Potbuster to see if it's over 5 frames so that they can armor through it, and it's really annoying. Overall, I'd say that this rework isn't exactly a hit. There's a lot of things that people like about it, and Potemkin is definitely a better character now. But just because a character is stronger doesn't mean that people are enjoying them more. Speaking of which, Ramlethal Valentine is the second character to get absolutely massive changes when going into Season 4. One of her special moves has been incredibly altered. S-Sword now, instead of going horizontally across the screen, goes diagonally downwards, tracking on the opponent's position. That's not all, though. The swords now guard crush the moment that you block them, with the trade-off being that Ram can no longer pick up her swords. She has to wait for them to fly back to her. It's really weird because in the start of Season 1, people complained about Ram being able to pick up her swords all the fucking time. And now they finally made it a resource. 4 years later. But the fact that the swords are now a resource isn't exactly enough. S-Sword is ridiculously strong in a lot of different circumstances, and there's a bit of a problem with it, which we'll get onto in just a little bit. I know that you want to talk about it, but we're not gonna get to it just yet. By spending her resource, Ram is now able to trade in a bigger normal in order to get a bunch of plus frames and a little bit of mix along with it. I, on paper, like this change. I always thought Ramlethal's game plan was a little bit linear, just sort of shove you in the corner and then throw the swords and pick them up and throw the swords and pick them up and throw the swords and pick them up. So now you have to actually, use your brain and think about things. But
there's a little bit of a problem with Ramlethal right now. It's not major, we're just a little bit worried, love. Me and your mother, we've been looking at what you're doing, and we're a little bit concerned. We're a little bit worried. I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna yell at you. What the fuck is this? Right now, Ramlethal is bugged in a way that is extremely unfortunate. If Ram throws out S-Sword, there is no way to beat it. Well, okay, there's one way to beat it, but if you hit Ram with a normal, a special, or burst, the sword stays. So, yeah. Ram's not exactly fun to fight right now. Ramlethal has objectively the best round start in the game because she's able to just throw S-Sword at you, it guard crushes, it leads to a full combo if it hits, and even if you hit her, it hits you. And before any of you say anything, one, yes, there is a way to deal with it. If you run up and throw Ram and you're fast enough, you're able to actually just avoid the S-Sword completely. This is me doing it to the best Ram player in the world. And two, this is a bug. Objectively. In fact, there's a lot of bugs right now, actually. Guilty Gear Strive, I believe, is an objectively well-made game. Generally, there's not a lot of bugs that go around. You'll see in the patch notes there's a couple of funny bugs, a couple of silly ones. But this patch, Jesus Christ, this patch, there's so many bugs. The day after the patch came out, Arxis released an official blog post saying that there was a couple of bugs in the game that people found out about. 6 days later, it was updated again, and there was a lot of bugs that were added this time. Here is a general list of known bugs in Guilty Gear Strive. Here is the current list of known bugs in Guilty Gear Strive. Here are the ones that are there, but they cannot work on them right now because there's too many things that need fixing. Some of these are absolute fucking bangers as well. Just the classics of Guilty Gear Strive not working. Leia while in Brynhilde Ascent, not able to do special inputs after doing a normal move. Kaizen Infinite with his H-Fireball because it just doesn't work properly because the time is broken while you're in Dragon Assault. Chip's Tightrope breaks the game when he wins with it. Gold Lewis gains the power of infinite speed. And of course, Ramlethal's swords do not disappear when Ram takes damage. This update is it's insane. There's so many bugs. There's so many! This is the most bugs I've seen in any fighting game season release. Granted, I've not been around for, Street Fighter V. The game at least functions, sometimes. I played a tournament very recently, shout out to Wildtide, and I had to fight a Ram
and a Potemkin and a Geo. And I just had to go into that Ram fight knowing I'm gonna have to find a way to deal with S-Sword right now. Because if I hit Ram, I lose. If she sends it out, I fucking lose. And it was against Zando as well. Like, it's just how you have to play the game. And it's not fun. Knowing that these bugged characters are just kind of doing crazy shit and there's not a lot you can do about it, it sucks. It's not good. Like, I have a really soft spot for Arxis. I know that they are one of the biggest players in the game right now. They've finally become one of the big three. NetherRealm's done such a shit job that I would say the Guilty Gear is now up there with the likes of Street Fighter and Tekken. It's not as big, don't get me wrong, doesn't sell as many copies as MK, but recognition-wise in the FGC, it's fucking up there. This is unacceptable levels of jank, though. I don't know what goes on in the Arc System Works office, but if I was to guess with the level of quality in this update, it feels a little rushed. We obviously knew that in October, we were getting the Season 4 patch. And I did think it was a little funny that by October, they meant October 31st, the last possible day that we could get the patch. And with it coming out in this kind of bug state, it makes me think maybe, just maybe, they didn't have enough time to get everything working correctly. I really hope the devs didn't crunch this update out to try and meet the October deadline, because fuck that, bro, that's shit. But it really does feel like they threw a lot of these things in at the last minute and didn't have time to do quality assurance. My theory, and we're entirely in speculation land right now, Arxis announces that they are putting Dizzy in Strive in October. That's what they're doing. And they put out patch 3.5. And they see the kind of middling reaction from the community. A lot of people like it. People really like DPRC. But it tends to get overshadowed by a level of just not happiness in the general community. So they start to course correct, and they decide that they're going to do a big Season 4 push. Like an absolutely massive one. But they don't have the time to do it properly. So they push back the deadline to the end of October because they've not announced it yet. And even then, things slip through the crack. And if they had just been like, listen, we said October, it's not realistic, we've changed plans a little, we want to give you guys a massive update, but we need a little more time, I'd have understood. But they pushed it down in October. If that is the case, I really hope next time they learn from this decision. And also, this balance patch is fucking weird. The only thing that leads me on this theory of they wanted a big splash for Season 4 instead of making an actual balance patch is that the balance changes are kind of insane. Like, obviously, Ram and Pot get their whole new reworks, and they're kind of underrepresented characters. Ram's always been doing kind of well, but Pot's never really seen outside of a couple of niche players, even though that's always how he's kind of been. But like, Baiken can parry and block stun now. Geo is moving like a fucking speeding bullet, you know? And then we look over at Johnny, and we look over at Testament. Like, it didn't feel like they actually wanted to balance the game. It didn't feel like they want to bring the top tiers down and the bottom tiers up. It felt like they just wanted to make something really fucking cool. And like, some of them don't even make sense, because then they did nerf some top tiers. They fucking shot Asuka in the kneecap. It's like you got a slap on the fucking wrist, but it's still a nerf. Hammer 236k in normal mode is now like actually punishable, which is the thing that I've been asking for since the character came out. Like, it's just weird. And it's really annoying because I kind of like the patch. Like, okay, I am incredibly biased. I am a billion% biased. But this patch is like kind of fun for me, entirely because I got lucky. But just because I think the patch is fun doesn't mean that I can't recognize that it's sort of half-baked and not entirely thought out. I'm not saying that Arxis did a bad job with the balance changes, I just think that it was the wrong direction. Personally, I said in Season 3.5 that I was looking forward to the more balanced, moderated kind of changes that we were getting, and we got the exact opposite of that. And that's fun for a bit, but considering how buggy it is, it's kind of hard to really recommend playing the season to people. It feels like Strive was on the path to being this high damage, intense game where when you get punished, you take a shit ton of damage. The explosions are the centerpiece, but you have to get to them. To now, the fucking building's rigged with C4. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that this is more of a quick grab to get people back in the game with crazy bullshit that wasn't exactly implemented 100% well, and it's going to lead to overall more damage to the game in the long run. I don't think this is a death blow. I don't think that Strive is dying, but I'm really worried that if we get any more stuff like this, it's not going to be good. But yeah, that's my extremely mixed, confusing thoughts on Season 4. I'm enjoying it, but I wouldn't lie if I said that I do sometimes kind of just want to play something else, which is fine. Also, fix the bugs, please, for the love of God, fix the bugs. Thank you all for watching. 3v3 beta is happening right now, so playing it live on Twitch. Probably playing it with viewers. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Sorry if it's a little bit more rambly. I had a lot of mixed thoughts for the game, and then, like, the producer apologized, and I kind of have to just rewrite a bunch of the different things in the script, and it's all been a bit messy. I hope you enjoyed it, though. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next week. As always, a very special thanks to 64 MHz, Almost Nap Time, Axel Syndicate, Daniel Wiedericht, Edison Lottery, Fexo, FL Maxler, Games.png, KY Nova Elite, Hoffmeister Bear, I Am Naoto, It's Riley, Knife and Spoon, Crittycat, MP04, Mr. Glenn, Nubus, Ray W, Sergeant Cubby, Slimy Gal, Super, Storm SSB, Falcon, Tom Tanks, Velvet Puppy, and Zandatz being tier 2 patron supporters.